The show is over. The final episode just ended, the screen went dark, and you are sitting there with a genuine ache in your chest. Not because the ending was bad, because they are gone now. The character you spent all those hours with, the one who felt like a friend, like family, like a part of your actual life, does not exist anymore, and somehow it hurts almost as much as losing a real person. Maybe you even cried, and then right on cue, a small voice in your head says the same thing it always says. It is not real. You are being ridiculous. Get a grip, they were never even a real person. If you have ever grieved a fictional character, felt a real hole in your week when a series ended, or gotten so attached to someone who does not exist that it genuinely affected your mood, then this is about you. And here is the part that voice in your head gets completely wrong. That reaction is not childish. And it is not you being too much. It is a sign of a specific and genuinely remarkable set of traits. And by the end of this, you are going to feel a lot better about the fact that a made-up person can wreck you. Let me explain, because the first thing to clear up is the belief that you are being silly. You have probably felt a little embarrassed about this at some point. Grieving a character, missing a show like you miss a person, feeling something real for someone who is technically just words on a page or pixels on a screen. It can feel immature, like something you should have grown out of. I want to take that off the table right now, because your brain is not malfunctioning when this happens. It is doing something it is beautifully designed to do. The emotional connection you feel to a fictional person is built on the exact same machinery you use to love the real people in your life. And the fact that it works so powerfully on fiction is not a bug. It is a sign of how strong that machinery is in you. So let's look at what is actually going on, because it is far more flattering than that embarrassed little voice wants you to believe. Here is the first thing, and it is the foundation of all of it. Your brain does not fully separate fictional emotion from real emotion, and that takes a powerful, empathetic mind. When you watch a character you love go through something, your brain does not sit back at a cool, safe distance and remind itself that none of this is real. It does the opposite. It runs their experience through the same emotional and empathetic systems it uses for actual people. When they are in danger, your body tenses. When they are heartbroken, you feel a real pull of grief. When they finally get what they wanted, you feel genuine joy. On the level that actually matters, the emotional level, your brain treats them as real, because the feelings they produce in you are real. And this only works if you have a strong capacity for empathy in the first place. You have to be able to step fully into another mind, to feel what they feel, to care about an inner life that is not your own. Think of your imagination like a flight simulator for emotion. A pilot in a good simulator feels real fear, real adrenaline, real relief, even though they never left the ground, because the simulation is vivid enough to fool the parts of the brain that generate feeling. Your mind does that with stories. It is a simulator so good that it produces the actual emotions of a relationship from a person who was never there. Not everyone's simulator runs that deep. Yours does. That is empathy and imagination working at a high level, not a character flaw. I will admit my own version of this, because I am not above it in the slightest. There is a show I finished a while back where a particular character died near the end, and I had to pause it, actually get up, and walk around my apartment for a few minutes, because I was more shaken than I would have been comfortable admitting to anyone at the time. A person who did not exist, written by people I will never meet, performed for camera years ago, and there I was, genuinely grieving, standing in my kitchen. For a second, I felt a little absurd about it. Then I remembered what I actually know about how this works, and I let myself off the hook. My brain was not broken. It had simply done its job so well that it produced real grief from an imaginary loss, which, when you think about it, is a small miracle of the human mind, not an embarrassment. Which brings us to the second trait, the one researchers have actually studied. And it explains why some people get pulled into stories so much harder than others. The reason you get this attached is that you experience something psychologists call narrative transportation, and you experience it intensely. In the year 2000, two researchers named Melanie Green and Timothy Brock studied what happens when people become truly absorbed in a story. They called it transportation, the experience of being so immersed in a narrative that you lose track of the real world around you, and you feel like you are actually there, inside the story, living alongside the characters. And they found that the more transported a person gets, the more real the story feels, the more it moves them, and the more it can even shift their beliefs and emotions afterward. Some people stay on the outside of a story, watching it happen. People like you go all the way in. You do not observe the characters, you live next to them. And that is why losing them lands so hard. If you like these explanations for the way your own heart works, take 1 second and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep going. Okay, so when a series ends, you are not mourning a fictional stranger. You are mourning the loss of a world you were genuinely living in and the people you were living there beside. Of course, that leaves a hole. You did not just watch a story. You moved into it, and then one day it was simply gone. You have felt the physical shape of this, even if you never named it. that strange, flat, slightly lost feeling in the days right after you finish something you truly loved. You go to put it on again out of habit and remember there is nothing left. You catch yourself thinking about the characters as if you might see them later, and then realize you will not the way you want to. Some people call it a book hangover or that empty feeling when a series ends. It is real, and it has a real cause. Part of your brain had genuinely folded those characters and that world into your daily life, the way it folds in real people and real places. And now it has to do the quiet, unglamorous work of grieving something it was fully attached to. The intensity of that hollow feeling is not a sign you are strange. It is a direct measure of how completely you let the story in, which is exactly the thing most people never manage to do at all. And that points at the third thing, which is the deepest and the most human of all. Those characters were meeting real emotional needs, and that is not pathetic, it is clever. The relationships you form with fictional characters are real relationships in one specific and important sense. They give you real things. A character can make you feel understood when they put a feeling into words you never could. They can keep you company through a lonely stretch, be a reliable comfort at the end of a hard day, or become a kind of friend who is always there, exactly as you left them, whenever you need them. Psychologists have a name for these one-sided bonds. They call them parasocial relationships, and far from being a sign that something is wrong, they can be genuinely good for you. They can soothe loneliness, they can model courage or kindness or resilience you want to grow in yourself, and they can give you a completely safe space to feel big emotions and process things you are going through in your own life. A character facing a fear you also have, and finding a way through it, is quietly teaching you that you can too. Think about the character you loved most, and be honest about what they actually gave you. Maybe they were brave in a way you wanted to be, and watching them do the frightening thing made it feel a little more possible for you. Maybe they were kind in a world that was not, and they reminded you which kind of person you wanted to keep being. Maybe they simply put words to a loneliness or a hope you had never been able to explain, and for the length of a story you felt at last completely understood. None of that is fake just because the person delivering it was invented. The courage rubbed off on a real you. The comfort landed in a real chest. The lesson stayed after the credits rolled. So this is not you failing to connect with real people. It is you being so good at connection that you can form a meaningful one even across the line of fiction and take something real away from it. That is not a small thing. That is a gift. Now, here is the honest part, the one gentle warning worth taking seriously because there is a balance here. Fictional relationships are wonderful and they are good for you, right up until they start replacing the real ones instead of adding to them. If you ever notice that you are retreating into fictional worlds because the people who do not exist feel safer and easier than the ones who do, that is worth paying attention to, gently and without shame. The characters are meant to be a beautiful supplement to your emotional life, not a hiding place from it. So the goal is not to feel any of this less. It is to let it be exactly what it is, a rich, safe, moving part of being human, while still turning toward the real, messier, unscripted people who can love you back. Used that way, your attachment to fiction does not shrink your life. It deepens it. So let me leave you with the reframe I most want you to keep. Getting too attached to fictional characters is not a childish habit you should have outgrown, and it is definitely not proof that you are too sensitive or too much. It is very often the exact opposite. It means you have an unusually powerful capacity for empathy, an imagination vivid enough to bring entire people to life inside you, and a heart open enough to genuinely love, even when it knows on some level that the person it loves was never there at all. The people who cry when a character dies are not the weak ones. They are frequently the ones who feel the most, imagine the most vividly, and connect the most deeply, and those are extraordinary things to be. So the next time a show ends and leaves you quietly grieving, and that little voice tells you it was not real, so you should not feel a thing, you can gently disagree with it, because the character may not have been real, but everything they made you feel absolutely was, and a heart that can feel that much over nothing but a story is a rare and beautiful thing to have. So tell me down in the comments, because I already know this one is going to hurt in the best way. Who is the fictional character whose story genuinely wrecked you? The one you are still not fully over, the death or the ending or the goodbye that hit you like a real loss. Say their name below, and let's hold a little group memorial for all the people who never existed and meant everything anyway. And if you want to understand another one of these strange, beautiful things your emotional brain does, go watch the one on why you reach for the saddest possible music when you are already sad, because it is the exact same machinery, turning a made-up feeling into a very real comfort. I'll see you over there.